So the Xbox 360 Marketplace is officially and finally closed. I want to spend this video just chatting with you guys, talking, reminiscing, and giving the respect that that storefront really deserves because, man, it meant so much to me. In fact, I probably wouldn't even be here making this video right now if it wasn't for stuff like the Xbox Live Marketplace and the arcade games. And what do I mean by that? Well, back in 2006, the second video I ever uploaded was me being very proud of a high score that I had set at the time in Pac-Man Championship Edition at the time, exclusive to the Xbox Live Arcade. I had like the number 19 score in the world at the time, and I was proud of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to upload this to YouTube. YouTube is still very new back then. Not a lot of video gaming stuff was being uploaded. I mean, I took a webcam or like my Xbox Live Vision camera or something and sat it down in front of my TV and recorded the replay of the high score. That's how I did it. It was horrible quality, but it really made me like it brought out my enthusiasm for playing video games. And I really owe it to games like that and sort of situations like that as a thanks to being able to do the content that I have here on YouTube over all these years. The first ever video review I did where I recorded gameplay was for an Xbox Live Arcade game called The Maw. Hey guys, and welcome to my review for The Maw for the Xbox Live Arcade. These little arcade games really brought out my enthusiasm and my love for video games exponentially. I made videos like my top 50 Xbox Live Arcade games of all time. And I played a ton of these games. In fact, they were really an integral part of growing up in this time in like the mid 2000s, playing my Xbox 360 and really, really, really falling in love with games more deeper than I ever had before. Because Xbox Live Arcade games were like an event. When these games first came out, I'm sure you all remember the release of games like Castle Crashers, right? Everybody coming together to enjoy a brand new, affordable, online beat 'em up game with amazing visuals, right? It was like everybody remembers Castle Crashers. The summer of arcade events where everybody would get really hyped up for this sort of block period of all these amazing arcade games that would be coming out really cheaply. Everybody remembers stuff like, I have a little list here. Braid, you all remember Braid, super influential on the platformer genre. Limbo, still inspiring games till today. There's still Limbo likes out there, as I like to call them. Some of my personal favorites like Hydro Thunder Hurricane, Bomberman Live, which I ranked as my number one game for my top 50 list, and I still think it holds that position. I just absolutely love that game. TMNT Arcade. Everybody remembers Hexic, right? When you think of a puzzle game on the Xbox Live Arcade, you think of Hexic. Everybody got it. Some of us were much better than others. I was sort of like midway. Gauntlet, right? Remember, a lot of games are classic arcade games, and Xbox Live Arcade would breathe life into these games. Being able to play a game like Gauntlet online multiplayer with a headset connecting with strangers really brought me into a love of games that I had never had before, right? Probably one of my favorite memories and like this epiphany that I had where I was like, wow, the Xbox Live Arcade is about to be way better than I think anybody's anticipating. Was there? I played Robotron 2084. There was an online multiplayer game or mode in that game where one player would be controlling the movement with the left joystick, and then somebody else playing online, maybe even across the world, would be using the right joystick to control where you're aiming and where you're shooting. And I remember in that moment, I was like, "This is incredible." I never thought I'd be playing an old arcade game like this with somebody controlling the movement or the shooting, and I'm doing the movement. And you have to remember back, this is almost 20 years ago. Xbox Live Arcade games, they are almost 2 decades old at this point. This was cutting edge stuff because before this, yeah, there were online games, but they were often not featuring classic arcade style games, more simplistic games. So being able to pick up a game for $5 and just connect with some strangers was a really exciting thing. I mean, I was playing stuff like Joust, Gauntlet, of course, which was a blast online with 4 players. I was playing Ms. Pac-Man, I was playing Frogger, I was playing Gyrus, I was playing all these older games, and it was all because it featured online multiplayer. And even the games that didn't have multiplayer, they would always have leaderboards. And that's something that Xbox Live Arcade games did so well, was that even when you picked up a game, you could always expect it to have some form of online integration. Even if it wasn't co-op or versus, there would always be some form of a leaderboard, some form of a communal aspect where you feel like you're part of a larger community. You weren't alone. You weren't just sitting there playing a classic arcade game you bought for $5 alone. You were competing with other people for a high score. Who can get the most kills? Maybe you are doing co-op. Maybe you are doing versus. Maybe you're playing with friends that you haven't seen since high school or college. Maybe you're meeting new friends in a game like Uno. You guys remember Uno? Also, another cutting edge thing with the Xbox Live Vision camera, where it's a little camera where you can see the other players. You set it on top of your TV and people can see you, you can see them. 99% of the time, it was, no crazy stuff going on. There'd be that one oddball out of the group once in a while. But a lot of times you were meeting strangers, just chatting, chilling, having fun, playing some Uno. And there were some other games that used the Xbox Live Vision camera. But it really was an exciting time to just come together and play. I have so many memories playing games with people from YouTube, other YouTubers, people that watch my channel, the co-host that I did All Gen Gamers with. We had so much fun coming together on games like Castle Crashers, Hydro Thunder Hurricane. Heck, I was playing Pong from one of the indie releases that they did on Xbox Live. Just simplistic Pong. Just that was it. Just playing online. And I really feel like a lot of that is becoming lost these days because now, if a game that comes out that's like a classic arcade style game, it's getting buried on Steam. It's really hard to find on the storefront on stuff like the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox, because there's just so many games coming out now. And back during the arcade days, when a game came out, it didn't have as much competition. It had a much more of a spotlight shown on it. Everybody knew, right? When a game like Castle Crashers or even something like Age of Swing, when games like that were coming out, remember Age of Swing, the one where you can connect your ships together and everybody would like sort of work together to shoot them up, where some people can move, some people can shoot, and you're like attaching your plane together. Everybody would know when these games were coming out, but now it's a lot harder. And the sort of like, I don't know, interactivity is also gone. Now, when you play online, it's mostly people that are in private groups on Discord and voice chat, and you're kind of just sitting there alone. You're lucky if people are even using headsets at this point when you're playing online. Back then, everybody had an Xbox Live microphone. Almost everybody would be talking. It was, I would say, more people were using a headset and chatting with strangers than they ever do now, because now not everybody using a headset. A lot of people just want to sit there, don't want to be bothered, don't want to chat. They just want to chill and play, which is fine. But I do miss that communal aspect of just chatting with strangers, sharing your passion for games. And I do feel like a lot of that is lost now. We're all kind of just in our inner circles and we don't really branch out and chat and meet new people online. I met a lot of great people playing Xbox Live Arcade and got to know you guys a lot better. Back in the day when I would play with my viewers, a lot better playing through Xbox Live. We would just chat and chill and have a lot of fun. And it really is bittersweet to see it sort of come to an end after all these years. It's, I have a lot of great memories. One of my favorite memories was a game called Tread Nebula. It was a sort of top-down twin-stick space shooter, sort of like a Star Control game where everybody's controlling their own spaceship, 8-player online versus. I remember this game came out, and it didn't sell very well. But one of my favorite memories is I'd be on there playing with the few players that did buy it, and the developers one day just randomly decided to pop in and they're like, "Hey guys, we're the developers on this game. How you guys enjoying it?" And we were like, "Wow, this is awesome." Most of us had never spoken directly to a game developer like that, direct access as you're playing the game. It was kind of neat. And back then it was a lot of times these games would release and there would be no patches, so these developers would release these smaller games and essentially accept their fate. If it bombed from the start, that was pretty much it, right? There wasn't much they would be able to do to revive it. There was no budget for marketing. It was like they released the game and you just hope for the best. So being able to talk to a developer that was really passionate about their game, and even though they knew not a lot of people were playing it, they still wanted to be in there and play with the few of us that did pick it up. And I cherish memories like that would probably normally never happen now, because what are the chances of a developer popping in with a headset and you using a headset as well these days? Another one is Marathon Durandal, the sort of prequel to the Halo series. I remember I was doing 3-player online co-op, and I was playing with one other random person, and then the third person actually ended up being a developer on the game, like somebody that helped port Marathon over to Xbox Live Arcade. And I was like, this is incredible. They stayed with us from the beginning of the game all the way until the end, telling us about the development of the game, how like how it was designed. It was my first time playing Marathon, and I was telling them like, this is the first game that's ever given me motion sickness, and they were like, oh yeah, sorry about that. I can't remember if they had head bob in at the time, but it was running at 60 frames a second with no head bob, so I was getting motion sick. I think they may have actually patched it in after, because I think they were hearing a lot of complaints about it. But anyway, we get to the end of the game, and I'm like literally walking through the final door of the game to beat it and get the achievement. And I got disconnected. The game crashed, and I never got to say goodbye or thank you or anything like that. So, highly doubt that person is watching this. But if you are, thank you. It was a great memory. One of my favorite memories of Xbox Live Arcade. Never got the achievement either, but man, so many amazing little games that just brought the community together and really, brought me to where I am now. Without Xbox Live Arcade and the indie games, and it, I don't think I would be making videos today. I really don't, because my content was so focused on that generation when I was first starting Xbox 360. Of course, AAA, the normal $50, $60 games, but I had a big focus on talking about stuff like Xbox Live Arcade games. Most of the games I used to play online back then were the arcade games. They really were. And it really helped me connect with the community because they were cheap, they were easy for everybody to get. It's one thing to be like, hey guys, come pick up this $50, $60 game that's pretty obscure. Not everybody's going to go out and buy a $50, $60 game, but a $5 or $10 arcade game, way more likely to be able to get people together to play with you, especially on the free games. So it really is kind of sad, and it's just kind of remembering the more simpler times. I really do miss the times where it was easier to keep track of all the games that were coming out and be able to look forward to them. And now the industry is different. It's a lot more complex. Games just aren't as simple, both gameplay wise and monetarily wise. It's just so hard these days to find a game for $5 or $10 that's just like, hey, you pay $5 or $10, you get online multiplayer, and that's that. Now there's a lot of stuff added on top. There's a lot of monetization. There's like live service stuff. It's there's always like something coming out the next day that's going to take other people's attention away. So I really miss the simpler times when everybody would be playing that one game for like a week or two and just coming together to enjoy it and chatting about it online. I just really feel like it's a lot harder to do that these days. Way less drama as well in the industry back then. I mean, man, it really feels like the end of an era. Luckily, we still have the games. I still have them downloaded on my console. I picked out, pretty much everything that I feel like I wanted. I bought a lot, over the years when this stuff was new. So at the end of the store closing, I didn't really have to buy too much. I really tried to focus on games that you cannot get on the Xbox One or Series X. A lot of them, thankfully, are still backwards compatible, so the preservation is better than, it could have been. Thankfully, there's a lot of games you can still get, and you can still play them online. So I do want to mention one thing I want to do over like the next month, especially in August, is try and bring people together to play some of these games that can no longer be bought, but if you have them, which I'm sure a lot of you have these games, I want to bring more people together to play them. So maybe like one night we play Aegis Wing, or we play Wing Commander Arena, or we play Castle Crashers, or Hydro Thunder Hurricane Bomberman Live. So be sure to keep an eye out on my X account, or join my Discord, because that's probably where I'll be pinging and letting people know. I want to try and keep these games going. I don't want them to just die and never be played online again. I find myself even now, when I pop into an Xbox Live Arcade game for the very first time, I check the leaderboards. I see like, oh, it's so much more fun when you can kind of get that online integration. Something that you can count on with Xbox Live Arcade games back then. Anytime you bought one of these games, it was going to have online multiplayer, and that was just so ahead of its time. Being able to count on like this $5 or $10 game that you're picking up, like, oh, if it's not going to at least have leaderboards telling you high scores or total kills, it may have online co-op, it may have online versus, and it was just so fun to be able to play these random little games that, normally you may only spend 10 or 15 minutes, 30 minutes playing, but because it has online multiplayer, suddenly it's like a whole new experience, right? I remember being super hyped to play something like Golden Axe. I've played Golden Axe before, whatever, but the online release of Golden Axe, being able to play that online co-op, was just like mind-blowing. Sonic the Fighters, when they ported Sonic the Fighters to Xbox Live Arcade with online multiplayer. Like, what? It's just magical little moments like that where just adding online multiplayer to some of these older games just makes them so much better, so much more exciting, especially in those older arcade style games like Gauntlet, like Frogger, like Joust. I remember playing Joust online. Normally, I would never play Joust. But being able to play Joust almost 20 years ago with voice chat online against other people, that's a whole different story. So, anyway, I don't want to go on too long. I just wanted to kind of give it a proper send off and really just reminisce about one of my favorite times playing games. It is bittersweet, but we don't have to let it end here. We can still play the games. We can still play them online. So it's really going to be up to us or Microsoft when they pull the plug from the online service. But I don't think that's going to be anytime soon. I don't think we got to worry about that. I think that's going to be going for a long time to come. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what are some of your guys' favorite memories. What are some of your favorite Xbox Live Arcade games? If you want to list your top 3, your top 5, have at it. Maybe that one hidden gem that nobody ever talks about, like I did with like Shred Nebula, for example. I would love to know. Let me know your favorite memories, and thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.